Hi, I'm Michael, and this is part 3 of my quilting for beginners. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the tools that I use for quilting. Uh, as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my cutting mat, which is, in this one, is 36 inches by 24 inches. The reason I use that size mat and also ruler, it's a 36-inch ruler, is that fabric is usually either 22 inches wide or I believe 30 something or it's 20 or 44 inches and 56 inches, I believe, for the width. And this way, with it folded in half, I can always cut across the entire width of the fabric. So this ruler, I've used this ruler probably 10 years now, and it's worked out really well. The other rulers that I have is this, which is sliced. It's got slits in it every half inch going across, so that when I'm working on squares, I'll cut a strip wide, say 4 inches wide, and then just cut 4 inches straight, and it keeps everything nice and straight. I also use this on larger squares that I'm trying to square up. And then I have two other shorter rulers, and these are I use for like drawing lines or trimming up the sides of a block, things like that. And then the last thing I have is I've got a few of these square rulers, and these it technically is for 4.5 inch fabric, so I can cut a 4.5 inch fabric, but it's got measurements on it so that I use it for smaller. I actually don't use it for the 4.5 inch just because it's kind of cumbersome. But when I'm working on 2 inch blocks, it works out really well to line up for the 2.25 inch and then trim two sides, then turn it around, do the same thing on the other. A good roller cutter will save life. It will cut fabric faster than scissors. They're not super expensive, and the only important thing is keep a sharp blade on them. If you don't have a sharp blade, you have a tendency to put more pressure down, and then as you cut, you might, if your cutter is not in perfect alignment, it can actually push your ruler out of place, and then your fabric's cut wonky and it just doesn't look good and stuff. And then I have a small pair of scissors for trimming thread around the fabric, like the little tails. Um, and then I have a couple of good pairs of fabric scissors, and these are when I'm cutting larger pieces, like trimming it up for the long arm or anything like that. I'll use this for a rough cut. And then for irons, I have this, and it comes with its own ironing board. It's got a water container down at the bottom, and it pumps the water up to it. It's a nice steam iron that works really well. This one, I just started using this about 3, maybe 4 years ago, and my ex-girlfriend had bought it thinking she would use it for clothes, and then she didn't like it. So when I started using it, I used it for quilting, and I love it. You can also use just any old, like as long as it's a good iron, flat, and gets hot. This is the cheap Black and Decker that I use when I'm using starch and stuff like that. But there's no reason to not use this for pressing or anything as well. In a good mat, if you don't have an ironing board, I use the ironing board, but a good wool mat is another option that's really good for you. And then the last thing I have, um, I just started using these on this quilt, and this is the heat erasable pens. I bought a bunch of refills for it, but as soon as those refills are gone, I'm going to stop using them because it goes through the ink really fast. I'm 18 blocks into this quilt, and I've used it for 12 of them, and I've already used, I'm on my 5th refill now, and all I'm using it for is to mark the centers of my half square triangles, and that's been about it. So it really goes through the ink really fast. So I'll probably go back to using my chalk pencil, which is right here. And it's like the old thumb, the old feeding pencils that we used in school. It's just chalk that comes out the bottom. And then it's got a sharpener that I can sharpen it to a point. But this does really good at marking, and I think I paid $8 or $9 at Joann's 4 or 5 years ago, and I still have plenty of chalk left of it just out of what I got from it. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep this video short so that we could get into quilting on our next video. In my next video, we will start cutting fabric, and we'll do our first quilt. And I don't have the samples laying out, but what I'm gonna do is probably, I'm tossed between two different block types. I'm tossed between doing a log cabin block or just plain square blocks. And the square blocks is probably easier, but it will give whichever I choose. Both of them will give you good sewing experience and good sewing practice, so that you can get to the point of sewing straight, getting a consistent 1/4 inch seam on them, and everything. So whichever of the two I choose for us to do, we'll work it out. What I'm going to do is, on video, I'm going to do about half of a baby quilt. So it'll be 42 inches or 40 inches by 40 inches. And I'll probably do 4 or 5 rows on video so that I can work through the different pointers I have and things like that to help you with getting good crisp lines and getting points lined up, and what to practice and what not to practice, things like that. So anyway, if you find this video useful, please feel free to subscribe and tell your friends about us. We're just getting started, and I'm hoping to get my subscriber counts up. Thank you very much. You have a good day.